Okay, so I'm back. I want to thank Debbie DeGroff for joining me earlier. Very interesting conversation. I'm very new at this technology, and I don't know what I'm doing, obviously, and I sort of I am admittedly I'm sending out the link to the show to invite calls, and I haven't really figured out how to screen the calls properly. So I apologize for the fact that I did end up getting some obscene calls over there at the beginning of the first segment of that program, and I became so flustered that I hung up. you know, Sort of like what they say, like my daughter says, old guys will do this. You go, oh, and then you just sort of shut everything down. And then I reopened it and I re-invited back Debbie to join me again, and we continued the show. But I'm hoping going forward that I'm able to figure out how to screen calls a bit. I think that maybe the way to do that is for someone to state why they want to call by in the form of a chat, so that I can then find out, whether they're on the up and up. And I guess that maybe it's a reflection of everything Debbie was talking about. That being Deborah DeGraff, that such corruption has entered into our education system that we have people, and these sounded like young people who were doing that. Um, they're there doing these obscene comments, and trying to. They think that this is somehow funny or subversive, or maybe they're just expressing some kind of inner rage or whatever. I don't know if I really want to spend too much time dwelling on thinking about what they're doing, but whatever it is, it's not nice, and I would ask people to refrain from doing that. Now, having said that, I'm staying on the air just a little bit longer here to invite callers and to see if you want to now join me. If I hope that you will do so with in the spirit of engaging in a civil and rational and reasonable conversation. My goal in this program is to develop a kind of an online experience every day, Monday through Friday from 12 to 1, where I invite interesting guests, like I just had, Deborah DeGraff, who discuss controversial themes, and that we invite callers to come in and express their opinions as well. So that's my goal. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it can be done. Maybe in this day and age, where you have people who want to come in and I guess do what's called Zoom bombing, and throw out obscene comments. I mean, I guess that's just maybe that's how it's going to have to be. In which case, I'm obviously not going to do it. I'm hoping not. So, while I have you here, what's on your mind this afternoon? Huh? I mean, if you look at the Drudge report, like I do, I think that, in my opinion, something happened to Drudge. I don't know where he went negative. I mean, I think that I saw some analysis of Drudge, and that he might have gone over to the left. His father apparently is a big liberal activist, and there was something that happened right around the time they switched over from a page that would occasionally give conservative opinion some space. It wasn't necessarily ever conservative; it was libertarian mainly, until almost becoming like a kind of a rougher edged version of the New York Times. Very liberal point of view, liberal culture, and it all happened apparently at a time when the Drudge Report fired their advertising staff that had been making them millions of dollars up until that point, and they replaced them with this agency that is a left-leaning agency, and then they came back with all this left-wing stuff, and they became anti-Trump. They hate Trump, and they promoted the phony impeachment narrative with big headlines every day. Then they, on the pandemic, they took a somewhat of a liberal stance on that. That's assuming there is such a thing. And now with the with the race conflict, they seem to be fanning the flames of that. So I'm very leery about the Drudge Report. When I read it now, I find it to be pretty depressing. And I'm not necessarily suggesting where one can go for alternative news. There was nothing like the Drudge Report in terms of its size and scope, but I'm hoping that there are alternatives. And I do like Front Page Magazine, Newsmax, WorldNet Daily, and others, and I hope that they become maybe a bit more like the Drudge Report was, which is an excellent mix of local and national news that you may not otherwise see, some entertainment news, some culture, and some international news, all kind of there in an easy to take in daily digest. That's what I looked for. The Drudge Report no longer does that for me, and I'm hoping that someone else can step up and do it. But the news as it spews out of the mainstream media is extremely negative about President Trump, and I believe that I'll give you the perfect example. I mean, he delivered this fantastic speech to the graduating class of West Point, one that I watched most of. And yet the only thing the media reported was that he looked like he stumbled a little bit coming down the stairs. And now they're going to make this, we're never going to hear the end of that. They'll never say anything positive. I mean, I remember they spent a whole segment in the news at the beginning of the administration on the fact that he ordered an extra scoop of ice cream at a state dinner. Oh my God, this is big news. And somehow we think this is bad. I mean, let alone that it's news. And this isn't going to change. This is a coup d'etat. This isn't news. This isn't legitimate opposition. This is nothing more than an attempt to take down a government because of reasons that we've discussed. I mean, they don't like the assertion of national interests and national sovereignty. And I don't see that changing. I mean, I think that they're going to bang that drum right up till Election Day, and I just hope and pray that that they're not successful. We all have a stake in the future of this country, and I think that, in my opinion, I think the American people are going to see through it. I think that Trump will win re-election. I think that it very well, maybe this is from my lips to God's ear, but I think that he might increase his margins in every state. He may even pick up a few states that he didn't have before. I would mention maybe off the top of my head, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Maine, maybe Iowa, a couple of Midwestern states, which I think he's going to pick up. Maybe even Colorado, although I think they've gone way out on the left. New Mexico, maybe. I think he's going to hold on to all the states he's held on to and then increase his margin. And I think he's going to close the gap a little bit in the big blue states, even New York, even California. He's going to do better. I don't think he's going to take those states, but I think he'll do better. And I think that Republicans are going to do well in the congressional races, even though the Republican National Campaign Committee and the Republican National Party is ineffective and weak and unhelpful. I think in spite of them, Republicans are going to do very well, and it would be a miracle, but maybe we could even take back the House. I mean, that put an end to this despicable attempt to overthrow this government by these coosters, as Bill Still accurately calls them, from the Still Report. By the way, you should check out the Still Report on YouTube. It's excellent. So that's what's on my mind here. I mean, I'm kind of still thinking and sort of absorbing and assimilating all the information from Deborah DeGroff. What an excellent guest. I hope you check that out on my live stream and on my YouTube channel. The live stream show on YouTube is called Charles Moscowitz Front Porch, and I'm doing it every day from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on other affiliated stations like Periscope,